Today's webinar will be led by Kristen Cousins, who is a solution engineer here at SAP SuccessFactors. Kristen, the floor is yours.
Alrighty, thanks for that awesome intro, Jessie. As she mentioned, my name is Kristen Cousins, and I'm a solution engineer with SAP SuccessFactors. So I'll be actually stepping us through the performance and goals product demo today. But I wanted to start by giving just a little bit of context on SuccessFactors in general and just kind of why we're all here. So do you know that feeling when you walk through a company's front door? It's almost like the energy is tangible. And sometimes it's flat, and other times it is just absolutely electric. You can just feel that the employees are connected to each other, and everyone's working towards goals, and everyone just feels, just absolutely vibrant in the office. So what is it that really drives that energy? At SuccessFactors, we think that is your people. They're the absolute heartbeat of your organization. When individuals are engaged and they're feeling supported and trained, and then they're properly rewarded and motivated, they're going to do what it takes to win. They're going to feel like they have a stake in your organization. The bottom line is that engaged people equates with extraordinary results. That's our belief at SuccessFactors, and that's truly what we build our entire solution platform on, this belief. So let's talk a little bit about exactly what the SAP SuccessFactors suite covers. We are a full end-to-end solution. So this means that everything from finding the right talent all the way into offboarding an individual is covered within our suite, and everything in between. So you'll see those different areas here: recruiting, onboarding, learning, performance and goals, compensating your employees, as well as succession and development. We also have workforce analytics and a core HR, which is your employee system of record. And all those other things you see there in orange, those are really what is pervasive throughout our solution. So everything's fully mobile enabled. We come with libraries of content if you so choose to utilize it. Everything's going to be secure, integrated, and you can also extend our platform out into other areas of your business. So if you want to integrate with your finance area, with any other sources of data that you find important when it comes to managing your talent. It's important to realize this because we are all on one platform and we are all fully integrated. So having one single source of truth and one solution is essential. And I'm going to show you several points of those integrations today. Even though, as you can see here highlighted in the green, we will just be talking about performance and goals, I'll be sure to point out as we step through the solution, the different areas in which performance and goals is relevant to other parts of talent management and how that all connects together. So let's see just a little bit deeper on what performance and goals really means and kind of see what we're going to look at today. So comprehensive performance management really drives business results. And that's really kind of the bottom line of why we're looking at performance and goals today. Some of the things you're going to see. You'll see goal development and management. So you'll see our library of goal content, as well as the different competencies that we actually tie back into those goals if that's something that you'd like to leverage. We provide engaging performance reviews. So we'll see more than one type of review. Every organization is different. There'll be formal reviews. You can come in and, continuous performance management is a huge driver in companies lately. We'll take a look at how SuccessFactors is 100% supporting that for our customers. And we'll also take a look at some types of 360s, how you're not just hearing from your manager on how you're doing, but how you can also assess feedback from different places in the organization. And finally, accurate calibration. Even if you don't do forced rankings today, how can you really use this to analyze the performance of your employees and kind of move forward based on that analysis. So we'll see a whole lot of stuff today. As we go through, again, feel free to throw questions in the chat. I'd be happy to follow up with any of you, even if we don't get to the question on the call. But just so you know, this is a general outlay of what we'll be taking a look at. And I want to, before we jump in, really frame with this mindset. Rethink your performance and goals process to increase your business outcome and employee engagement. And I almost want to stamp this slide with another line there, especially in this time of digital transformation. We're at a crazy time in the world right now. If you think about, a couple years ago, you wouldn't have even imagined the devices, the technology that you're using today every day, and so fluidly and fluently, whether it's in your personal life or in your work life. And as organizations, especially as people managers, especially in HR, we need to take things like that into account. And you can kind of, the technology can pass you by and leave you irrelevant, or you can really jump in and embrace this change and empower your organization. So what does that have to do with talent management? There's really three key areas that you'll see demonstrated to you today throughout the SuccessFactors solution. You have to consider the way people work today. You don't want, somebody coming in the morning and feeling like they took, 10 steps back in the digital age with the kind of technology they're working with on their job. We want them to feel as though everything is as fully integrated and as seamless as the technology they work with every day in their lives. Secondly, we want to focus on empowering individuals in your organization. So technology shouldn't limit you. If anything, it should, absolutely empower your employees, allow them to really shine through and enhance their performance at your company. And finally, that kind of leads into my last point there. The role of HR itself is changing. A lot of this self-service that we're going to empower your employees to do is going to kind of, take back that administrative role that HR so often falls into today, right? Employees are going to be able to do it themselves, or these kind of changes are going to be automated. And what you're really going to see happening is HR just becoming a strategic advisor to the business as a whole. And companies are starting to recognize HR, CHROs and the HR organization for what we are, which is, we're so impactful in the business. We have in our power the number one investment and the most important investment of the entire organization, and that's the talent. That's the employees that thrive and that drive your success every single day. And so as technology becomes more pervasive in our lives, HR is going to be freed up to really have an impact on the strategy of the business. And if you're going to do that, you need a solution that's scalable, that's agile, and you need one that's supported by an organization that's innovative and has their eyes on the future. And it's something that SuccessFactors and SAP, we really take pride in doing that. At the end of the day, we think the answer is simple. Success is simply human. So provide your employees with the solution and the technology to really be their most successful. So without further ado, I think it's time to go ahead and jump right into the solution demonstration. So I'm going to share my screen here. Just one moment. And I believe that should be coming up on your live view in just a second. So if it doesn't, Jesse, go ahead and let me know. But I'm going to assume that our technology is working flawlessly at this time. So let's start with the homepage. Awesome. Let's start with the homepage of SuccessFactors. Given that we have probably a broad range of individuals on the line here who may have seen the solution, may not have seen the solution, I always like to just go through a quick overview just to briefly set you up with some context on the solution itself, kind of how the data is structured and laid out within the solution, and also what we're going to be looking at today and from whose perspective. So right now, this is the homepage that any employee in your organization would see when they sign into SuccessFactors. So we see up here in the upper right-hand corner, we're logged in as Jeff Hill. Jeff is a manager, and that's who we will be seeing SuccessFactors from the perspective of today. All of these boxes on the homepage, we call them tiles. Quite frankly, they're just boxes of information. You can see you can move them around here. All of them are very flexible, and they're not stagnant. You can drill in on any of these areas deeper. And also, the tiles can really be configured to reflect any area of the solution that you like. So, as a company or maybe as a management team, you may want to mandate that every individual has a My Info tile, as you see here on the top left. Or perhaps you want to, provide every manager with a My Team tile. Those are things that you can push out from the top. But employees can also configure their own tiles based on their role within the solution and, what it is they have to do every day and what's most efficient to them. So you can see, these metrics up here at the top. Jeff, as a manager, he wants to see how his employees are being compensated by their performance. That's a metric he can configure and just pull data from the solution. It's all on one platform. So no matter what area of SuccessFactors he wants to see on his homepage, he can have that reflected to him. You can also see here that Jeff has configured a quick links tile, and that could allow him to jump from his homepage into any area of the solution. It's not siloed. It's not, sequestered one area from the other. So it makes navigation quite simple. So before we really go into performance and goals, I just want to spend one more moment showing to you kind of a visual representation of how the employee records are laid out within the solution. I think it will help us a little bit with the flow of our performance and goals today. So what you see on the screen here is our organizational chart. And this is really just naturally drawn by the relationship between employees. So you can see Jeff up here as a manager. This down here is his direct team. They all report to him. And if he wanted to drill in any further on any of his direct team's actual teams, he can do that. Take a look at a different level down, and he can also drill up and see his manager as well if that's something he'd like to look at. So it's all very fluid, very drillable. And I also want to point out this dotted line or matrix relationship that you see here going out to Sydney Battle. This is important because every company has a different organizational structure, right? Everyone is unique. You all have different requirements based on your industry, based on your business processes. So it's important that a solution be able to support that. The SuccessFactors does support matrix or dotted line relationships, as you see here. It's possible that Sydney, has more than one manager, or maybe he has, some responsibilities that relate to Jeff, but not all of them. And the solution supports that type of relationship. So, we really want to be as flexible as possible and make sure that any business process that you need to run your business, we can absolutely support and provide for you. So, let's say Jeff wanted to come in and take a look at one of his employees here. With just a click, he pulls up the quick card. And you'll see this a couple times throughout the solution today. It gives, some quick information on the individual, just maybe where they work, what their role is, and he can go even further down here as we see and actually take action on this individual. So coming down here, you'll see a number of options that Jeff has with his employee Jada. This is a great place to point out that everything that you see here is very dependent on rules that you use inside the solution. So SuccessFactors is completely role and permission based, and this is important because you don't want to give individuals access to information that they cannot see. So for security reasons, it's very important. Jeff may have a number of options to go in and do things for Jada because she's his direct report. But for example, if Jeff came into his own quick card, he may not be able to say give himself a spot bonus in the same way that he would be able to do with Jada. So all of that is based on a number of things. It's based on your position in the system, and it can also even be controlled down to the individual level, and just make sure that everyone is in a system doing their job with the data that is most efficient to them and appropriate for them to be viewing. And the last thing I'll point out here is this public profile. And what this really allows is it's just kind of another interface for employees to engage with one another, which is just so important when it comes to running your business. So this public profile, it's something that everyone can see about Jeff. He can see other public profiles. He can write a quick thing about himself, throw up a picture. And if he could even have a mini org chart here saying if you wanted to configure badges for employees to do appreciation awards for each other, anything like that, it's all absolutely possible. So again, just another representation of your individuals within the system that allows them to interact and engage. And I'll just show an example. Jeff could come in and also look at his direct report data and so forth. So from here, from a manager perspective, let's say that Jeff wanted to actually come in and manage Jada's goal plan and performance results. So let's go ahead and take a look at how that process would take place. So I jumped into the goal plan here, and what we're seeing now is an example goal plan, a sample goal plan for any individual in your organization. So this goal plan, I'll mention right up front that this is no sort of template that we force upon you. It's no kind of structure that you have to adhere by. It's extremely flexible. So even these categorizations that you see here, like customer or learning and growth or financial, all of those are configurable. And all of these are, based on your business processes, maybe how you roll up on KPIs at the end of the year, maybe just how you want to organize things for different roles. You also see a number of options within these goals. So for each goal, you can tie it to a metric. You may want to weight goals if that's something you do in your business process. Perhaps you want to tie a due date or a status to these goals. All of this is so configurable. You can strip down the goal plan to be as simple and as is visually communicative. These are your goals, and we want to keep it as simple as that. Or you can really beef things up if you have calculations or weights, or if you want to tie development goals. It can just the functionality is very deep. But a lot of organizations like to keep it simple as well. So we offer you the ability to kind of pick and choose based on your organization. So a couple of other things that we can look into here. You can provide the ability to comment on goals, maybe comments between manager and employee. We also provide, of course, the ability to add goals, so come in and actually edit this goal plan. There's a couple of ways you can do that. You can create a new goal. This would be, perhaps the most simple process, the easiest process, especially if you're just moving to an automated solution for the first time. You can copy from another goal plan. This is very helpful between teams and colleagues that may want to pull, all the metrics or details around a goal just from their team member if they're working on the same thing. You can also use a goal wizard, and what that is really a step-by-step process to help the manager or the employee create a goal that's really adhering to the values of your organization. And we step you through the SMART acronym, so making sure the goal is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. But if there's other acronyms that that represent a process you want to follow, that can be configured as well. We can absolutely talk about that. So if I wanted to come in and create a new goal, there's a couple of options here. I could add a personal goal. That would really be writing it from scratch. But I kind of want to show you the library goal just to give you an idea of some of the content we have baked into the solution. So, SAP SuccessFactors, we come with a number of out-of-the-box goals that we offer to you to come in and really assess. You could provide your own goal library. You could come in and, add or take away from the goal library that we have. All of that's possible. So just as an example, if I was coming in and adding a sales goal for this individual, you can see here that these are the goals I have within the solution. I can come in and add that goal, and then in the future actually be able to make sure it pertains to the person, come in and edit it, and tie all sorts of things to that goal if I so choose. So a great way to make creating goals simple and easy, and also standardized across your organization. Another thing I want to demonstrate here is the ability to cascade the goals. It's something that our customers use very widely within the solution. So if I wanted to select this goal here and cascade that goal, let me come in actually. Let's take a look at Jeff's goal plan so we can see it from that point of view. So if I wanted to take this goal and cascade it down to my team, I could come in, choose the option to cascade that goal, and then you'll see that Jeff could cascade this down to his direct team. He can cascade it to that, that matrix relationship that we saw previously in the org chart. So full functionality supported there. Or you could even come in and if you give your employees the option to actually, send this goal down to any other employee within the organization. So this is one of the strongest pieces of SuccessFactors is our goal alignment. So we really, offer you the option to take goals and link them down to your team members, link them up to other members in your organization. And this goal alignment, what this gives you the opportunity to do is see that, what you're working on every day really drives up to the greater strategic objective of the organization. So let's see that in a little bit more of a visual manner. If I wanted to come in and take a look at this execution map, what this really represents is all the goals within that Jeff has within the solution here, who he's cascaded them down to. You can see his team members here on the right. And then reflected back to us is actually the status of these goals. So it's very, visually indicative right off the bat, how employees are doing on these goals based on the time period it's connected to and how they're actually performing. So that element, that performance element of the goal can be set manually, or you can have certain metrics in the solution actually tied to these goals. So, if Jeff is working on, this forecasting of future costs accurate to 5%, and he's sent this goal down to his employees and kind of made it clear that these goals that these employees are working on has a direct relation up to his goal, he can also kind of, make individuals accountable for how they're doing. So even if, he's wondering why his probability of success is medium on this goal, if he comes in and this even just prompts a conversation with James Klein here, who we see, is not performing so well on this goal in this time period, if that just starts a conversation about, accountability and how things are doing, it allows you to just really discover maybe the origins of issues and drive success from the bottom up when it comes to achieving the overall goals of your company. So execution map, a great visual goal that we get great feedback on from our managing team when it comes to managing goals and managing employees' performance. So from there, I'm going to jump right into our performance piece. Goal plan, is very simple. Is a great way to just quickly and easily communicate the objectives that an employee is working on. Very configurable, and can just really be tied right to your business. You make it as easy as possible for employees to know what they should be working on. So we see this menu up here up top. This is our main navigation menu. I actually haven't used it thus far because I've been able to just kind of jump from area to area through the options in the solution. But any of these areas that you see, these will show up whether or not you're actually leveraging that area of success factors. So we can go into performance at this time. And what you'll see here is Jeff's inbox. This would be, possibly what an inbox would look like at the end of the time period if you're running a formal review process at this time. A lot of performance reviews to come in and fill out, maybe some 360s, maybe any other type of performance template or performance form that you'd like to provide to your employees. So I'll take a moment here to just describe that SuccessFactors supports all types of performance review processes. We know it's different for every organization. So if you're a company that does, formal performance reviews year by year, we absolutely support that. And we'll take a look at one of those more formal reviews now. Perhaps you do different quarterly reviews that, eventually roll up to a formal annual review. We can, absolutely support that as well. Even if you wanted to go, further and talk about continuous performance management. And we'll take a look at that from a different perspective in a couple minutes, but we support that as well. So no matter your review process, I'm showing you a couple examples at this time, but just so you're aware, there's so many options, and we have customers that do all sorts of things with our review functionality. So I'm going to drill right now into a more of a formal type of review. You could imagine this for, say, the end of year assessment, or maybe a mid-year assessment. And we're doing this review for Jada Baker. It's an employee that we've already kind of seen a little bit about thus far. And what this really does is pulls in all the information that you're reviewing that employee for at this time. So there's no rekeying of information, which is often the case if you're working with a paper-based or a legacy system. All the goals from that employee's goal plan flow right into this performance review and are ready for you to come in and assess. So, for example, at this review that we have here, we have this route map at the top. This is very important in the review process because what it really is a workflow. So this route map shows it reflects the workflow that this form is going to go through within the system. So it's available for both the employee and the manager to see, so they know what the steps are and where the form is going to go next. So for example, this form, it went through a mid-year review. Let's say we already did that. It's, maybe it's December and we're coming up on review time. The employee can fill out a self-assessment. That's an option that we give. And then finally it goes to the end of year manager assessment. And the manager can review the employee and also have access to how they review themselves. We can also take a look, maybe there's an HR review here that happens, and finally a rating discussion. And then from there, the form is finally signed and goes into record as their performance review. But these workflows, these route maps, very flexible. Even if things are done in person, there's a way for you to acknowledge and recognize them with a solution. So it really takes care of that administrative detail. They can also be tied to notifications. So let's say, once this is ready for your review as a manager, you get a notification into your inbox. Hey, the employees filled out their performance review. It's time for you to go in and add your input. You can absolutely have those notifications set up within the solution or even outside of the solution, to your mail system. So coming in, you can provide an introduction here, based on anything you want the employee or manager to keep in mind throughout this process. And you'll see that these, as I mentioned, those goals flowed right in from our goal plan. So I really beefed up this performance review just to kind of show what's possible. But you can, again, just like the goal plan, strip this down to as simple as you need it to be. So, you can have a self-rating. These can be by number. They can be by, by words. So really the rating process is very important. We provide the ability to do that any way you'd like. You can see Jada's actual self-assessment comments here on the right side. And even here, coming in as Jeff, there's, let's say there's a number of tools that are here to help Jeff actually complete his review. So let's say that you have a manager come in and type something like this. Jada is doing well on this goal for a young employee. So that may not be exactly something that you want, the type of language that you want on a performance review. Think of it, in the opposite way. If you have an experienced team member and their manager comes in and writes, Tom is doing well on this goal for an older guy. Things like age, things like, gender, they're not really things that you want in a professionally documented performance review. So what SuccessFactors provides is a tool that actually allows you to make sure that language doesn't really slip through the cracks. I clicked on it here manually just to show you, but most of our customers run this automatically on their performance reviews. And this legal scan tool actually comes in and just identifies language that perhaps you should reconsider. And coming through and why should we reconsider this? Use care when describing, age or religious affiliation, family issues, any sort of personal stuff like that just shouldn't really, be relevant to an employee's performance or an employee's progress. So this legal scan it's like having a little HR angel on the shoulder of every person going through a performance review. You can add or take away from this legal scan library. And it's very helpful for managers and for the HR team in general. Just kind of a reassurance that we're using professional language and staying on track when it comes to assessing our employees. The next piece I want to point out to you guys is another enhancement tool that we have in our performance reviews that we just get fantastic feedback on it being so helpful. There's different types of things that you can rate in a performance review. Not just goals, right? Maybe you want to identify, competencies, whether they be core values tied to your organization or competencies that maybe are specific to that individual's role. You have the opportunity to also assess your employees on these areas as well. So let's say, for any specific competency, we have this one here that's driving continuous improvement. This could be something that, Jada's been working on. Maybe coming in as her manager, it's something that I know what I want to say. I know what I want to say about Jada, but I'm just not sure that I have the right words. Maybe I'm tired. Maybe it's, my fifth performance review of the day. All of these things are such realistic situations that we go through as managers. So SuccessFactors likes to provide help for that. And coming here into the writing assistant tool, you actually have the ability to choose from some baked-in content that is specifically tied to whatever competency you're rating an individual on. So for example, let's come in and look at what we have here. Tied to this specific driving continuous improvement, Jeff can come in and think about, does Jada need to improve in this area? Is she meeting our expectations? Perhaps she's going above and beyond, what we're expecting of her. He can actually come in and select any one of these items. You'll see the quote preview below. And so each of these links here actually provides a chunk of text directly relevant to how Jeff feels Jada is doing in this area. He can place the quote, and you'll see it actually appear behind us here on the review. And he can also, he can change whether it's first or third person, just based on how he's been filling out the reviews thus far, save him some time. And there's also, I don't have it turned on here today, but we also provide sentiment analysis. So even being able to click through and adjust that particular quote, maybe how critical we're being, or maybe we want to make it a little more gentle. We provide that type of analysis as well. And finally, we can move from describing the behavior to actually, where can we go from here? Let's give some advice. So for each area that you select, we actually provide coaching advisor here. So, what are some suggestions based on best practices that can apply directly to maybe how this individual can improve? So you can take any of these quotes, place them again. You'll see it appear in the comments behind us. And when you close, you can actually come in and edit that text. So it really gives you the option to tailor it directly to that individual. But it gives you a block of very professional, really best practice recommended, review topics to actually choose from. So this can be extremely, extremely helpful to managers when it comes to coming in and actually assessing their employees. And finally, I'll just show up for the performance review. Depending on your process, you can come in and rate your individuals. Maybe the goals are weighted, like we saw in the goal plan. Those calculations flow right through into the performance review. You can provide overall rating or a calculated form rating. There's several options here because we know that every business process is different. So we're happy to work with you in that area. So that was really the formal performance review piece. I'll just mention here that at the top of the review, a manager has access to a bunch of other tools. Gap analysis, maybe areas where you're rating an employee differently than how they're performing. Of course, those are areas that you want your attention brought to. Even history, perhaps this employee's performance form history over time. You can provide managers access to that if it's relevant to them. And I don't have any supporting information here at this time, but if you wanted to click into that and an individual had notes about them over the year, that's absolutely possible for you to provide supporting documents if a manager thinks it's relevant to making the best assessment of an employee. So just a few other tools here within the performance review that I wanted to point out. We provide our managers, we want to make this as easy as possible. So I will say that we do provide a 360 report. It's very robust. It's awesome. You can send it out internally. An employee can, create it about themselves. You can actually send it to external companies. Maybe you did a project with another organization and you want to get feedback about, that employee from them. We provide a form to do that. I won't go into it today, but it provides a great roll-up report at the end, and it's a fantastic piece of our solution. We also have a chance to do that on kind of a light version, as we see here. If I'm a manager and these are all my direct reports, they're organized in this team overview section. And I can actually come in and request feedback about individuals. So just send a quick email out, and this will connect directly with your. Looks like I lost my screen share here. 1 second. Okay. So are we back up and running? I saw that get lost for a minute. There we go. I think we should be back in business. Okay. So I could, send out a quick email, as you see in the feedback from others section. As I'm reviewing somebody, you'll see down here with Ray, I requested feedback about Ray. Send out a quick email, links in, directly with your Outlook or whatever you use. Hey, can you give me some quick feedback on this individual, while I'm doing a performance review? So that's an example right there. Another thing that I can actually do as a manager is see my team from a holistic view. So before we view calibration, I just want to show you, a lot of employees like to see this as kind of a mini calibration. You can view your entire team here. Perhaps this is the core values of the company that we're seeing. So every member is being rated on these values. And come in and just click through and make sure that, hey, I rated these two individuals the same, but Jada is absolutely outperforming Ray in that area. I need to make sure I'm giving her a 5 there. And just with one click, really step through, see everyone side by side, even see here on the right, rankings if that's something that's going to help me make the best assessment, and so forward. So Team Rater can be really helpful, and any changes you make here will link right back in your performance review and be reflected there. So another benefit of having everything on the same platform. So those are two tools that we have. I mentioned this is kind of like a mini calibration, if you will. We will go into calibration later. We have a fully robust calibration solution. So that'll be a little more formal if that's something that your organization desires. But at this point, I wanted to talk a little bit about our performance management system and kind of where the whole industry and where we're going in HR today. So I'm going to display this on a mobile device just because I think it's a great place to just show mobile. It's not this is available on desktop as well. Continuous performance management available on desktop as well, but I think it shows great on mobile. And also, I'm doing this already with my manager here at SuccessFactors, and I use this on mobile all the time, and I'll kind of explain why right now. So continuous performance management is a huge shift that's taking place in the HR organization, in our industry. It's some people are doing away with performance reviews altogether. So they're saying we don't want to just assess our employees at the end of every year. We want this to be a continuous system that really takes everything into account. And there's a few reasons for that. A lot of times at the end of the year, maybe you're filling out a review and you forget half the stuff that went on in the first 6 months. Absolutely possible. We're all so busy. And even if you have, multiple members on your team, it can be hard to keep track. So how do we document, the little victories and the little things an employee is doing every day? Secondly, we want to keep employees engaged. We don't ever want their performance reviews to be a surprise. We also don't ever want them to feel like, they're not, in the pulse of the organization. So continuous performance management can be used either with formal reviews or it can be used, quite frankly, on its own. So let's take a look at kind of an example of how it's working for us today. So what you see here is a mobile version. I'm showing it to you on my phone here. Of actually, let me. I think this video just jumped out, so let me just show it to you guys again. 1 second. There we go. And okay, sorry for that. Nothing like technical difficulties with the technology organization. Here we go. So this is how we at SAP like to organize our continuous performance management. But, these are all flexible areas. So we see we're on activities now. And what this activities area really does is it allows Jeff to enter in items that he's working on a daily basis. So these things can tie to goals. They can be kind of a mini representation of a goal. And Jeff and his manager can come in and comment on these. And it just, it's kind of this interaction that's captured in the solution that Jeff's working on every week. If we come in and add an activity here, as you see, you can enter an activity name. It could be, something he's just working on that week. But add a status to it. This is something I absolutely have to get done. And that's very visibly communicated to his manager. He and his manager both have access to these activities. But on top of that, you really want to tie this to an overall goal, right? Because that's really what it's all about. So he can come in and these goals flow right in from his goal plan and tie this activity to a goal. So, this is something I'm doing this week, but, it's all in all in a greater effort of my yearly goal that we have right here. So, that's very, very organized. And he can tie that to a development goal as well. So if he's, working on something that's not necessarily an objective, but maybe, an area that he's working on with his own personal development, we offer that option as well because, of course, there's all kinds of stuff we do every day. It doesn't always, directly impact our goals. So he can enter this activity name, throw it onto his activity list, as we see here. And, once it gets completed, he can mark it as complete. That second area that we're moving into are our topics. So these could be things that he's not necessarily working on, but that he wants to make sure he adjusts with his manager, whether that's in, their weekly meeting or their monthly meeting, or, even just something that he wants, her to know that he's working on and keep it top of mind. And this last section here we have is coaching. So this could be, something that they want to address in their one-on-one meeting. one thing that Jeff, was doing great and one thing that he can work on. So all of this really, it's documented, all of this interaction between the employee and the manager. And what that really does is allows you at the end of the year, if you're filling out a performance review, you have all of this rich engagement data between you and your employee to actually enter in. And oh my gosh, that's right, they did a fantastic job on that presentation. So it kind of helps with that piece of it. But on top of that, it really keeps employees and managers engaged, and it cultivates that relationship between them, and just makes sure that everyone's on the right track and no one's really being left unengaged, which is where we see issues with retention or things of that nature. So again, that's continuous performance management, and we can take a moment here and actually step through a little bit more about the mobile solution. I want to make it clear that it's not just we're jumping in and out of this thing here, but it's not just about the continuous performance management. We support everything on mobile. And this video is not working, so I apologize for that. I'm going to just go back into our solution here. But we have all sorts of videos out there about our mobile capabilities. I use it every day to just jump into and perform a quick task. So very helpful to have kind of an anytime, anywhere feel to your solution. You don't have to be in the office or at your desk to get your job done. So moving forward, let's take a little bit of a look at calibration. So I mentioned this earlier, calibration isn't something that every organization takes part in. And by that calibration, I mean force ranking. So how that works is, if you have a team and you want to make sure that everyone's evenly distributed, you could use our calibration solution to do that. A lot of companies use, bell curves or something of the like to make sure that everyone's not being rated a 5 in one group because they have, a more lenient manager, and, others are getting, 2s and 3s because they have a tougher manager. It kind of needs to be normalized or standardized in a way. So a lot of companies like to use that. And we allow you to do that here, through bell curves or 9 boxes or however you'd like to complete that. But what I'd like to show, which can be a little bit more applicable to more organizations, is our 9-box piece that we provide within calibration. So, you see here at the top, we're looking at performance versus potential. We have another example here, impact versus risk. There's all types of matrices that you can set up to analyze your employees. So if we're taking a look at this one here, through the top here, we're looking at the overall form rating. So, how individuals are being rated on their performance reviews versus their overall potential rating. So that could be, in this specific example, potential. Maybe that's indicated by, an employee's continuously upward trending performance reviews. Maybe that's something that's indicated by their development, how they're performing on their development goals. Maybe it's actually, a manual indicator that a manager comes in and sets, this employee definitely has high potential. So those kind of things are up to you, kind of how those elements are defined. And within here, you have all these individuals in these different boxes. If somebody is, for example, performing really, really well, but they're in, the bottom of their potential, or maybe, this is by payment. Maybe they're performing well and they're being paid really low. You want to be aware of these slivers of your workforce that, that could cause them to leave. And if that's not something that we're, up and aware of and paying attention to, it could have a negative impact on your business. At the same time, it just gives you visibility into how individuals are doing. And if you want to come in and, come and move individuals, it's all drag and drop. These different icons that we see here are visual indicators of, maybe this H stands for high risk of loss. Maybe this flag here indicates that they, have great impact on the business. It allows you to kind of take a step back, see your company from a holistic level, and just make very specific decisions when it comes to investing in and working with your talent. So great use of calibration in these 9-box areas. A ton more of different examples on how that could work. and just a nice flexible tool to use in your business. So I'm going to take a minute and actually and switch roles here. So I'm going to log in and out of the system. It's actually a good opportunity to see that you know, you can kind of have different home pages and different looks and feels for SuccessFactors based on who you are in the organization. So I'm going to sign out as Jeff and sign in as Maya. And I'm doing this for a specific reason. I really want to show a final few pieces of our solution. And the first is presentation. So we just kind of came off talking about all of that rich workforce data and how it, you know, how it really is great to have all of it within, you know, a cloud solution, a solution like SuccessFactors. So how do we go ahead and leverage that? So I'm signing in as this new individual. I have a different home page. You know, Maya's in a different role, so she has different things she wants to do every day. And I'll jump into this presentations piece here. And this is, you know, a very cool piece of our solution and a great help, especially when making talent decisions. So what you're seeing here is it's just, you know, a slide deck. It's a stagnant slide deck. The types of things that we normally use for presenting to a management team, for, you know, kind of organizing things around meetings, and SuccessFactors really takes it to the next level. So let's say we're coming in and you know, we're working with our own management team, or perhaps, you know, we're making a presentation to the board or some sort of, you know, executive presence. You can come in and have these opening slides. These are really just examples. But where things get fun and exciting is when you're actually going to see here the ability to pull in live SuccessFactors data into your presentation. So, you know, you just did all this performance work, you just did all this ratings work. Now it's time to really drive insight out of it and make decisions, right? I can come in here and within the discussion actually pull up metrics on a certain individual. You know, these are their performance results. These are their talent results. You know, especially if we're thinking about, let's say, you know, filling a new role, or you know, offering somebody a promotion. And even better, I can actually come in and you know, pull up other people's information and make this a more comparative experience. So because of the way the employee records are organized within SuccessFactors, you know, the system knows where somebody's located, you know, what role they are, you know, how they kind of fit into the overall landscape of the organization. And because of all the data we're collecting on them, it allows us to really see things in a way and through a lens that we can make decisions on them. So if we're considering somebody for a new job and, you know, we're basing all this off of, you know, a number of different factors, like maybe language skills, or, you know, how they're performing in their competencies, you know, how they're being rated by their managers versus their peers. All of this that's relevant to you can be not only available to you in the solution, but actually pulled up into this presentation structure and manipulated and viewed and assessed right from within your meeting. So talk about, you know, having your workforce at your fingertips. This is just about as good as it gets. So from here, we can actually take a look from my perspective at really the final piece I wanted to drill in on today. So we do have a workforce analytics solution. It's extremely robust, extremely powerful, but, you know, of course, not every organization is going to focus, you know, or really put a great impact or emphasis on workforce analytics. It just might not be, you know, quite frankly, an area of the solution that you purchase. So we provide a way for you to still, you know, perform analysis on your employees, on your workforce, even from a manager level. So like think about those tiles you kind of saw in the beginning on the home page, right? Just the ability to come in and configure metrics just based on the information you have access to within the solution. So these dashboards can be defined in the same way. And this comes with performance and goals. You can come in here, you know, perhaps you're looking at things like competencies. You can come in here and design, you know, these types of visualizations, these types of reports that, you know, at a manager level could allow you to really make critical decisions about your individuals and about your company. And there's a number of different dashboards you can design. You know, if you want to create just one main one, if you want to create 50, it's all up to you. You know, you have the ability to come in and do that. Let's take a look. You know, let's say we want to come in and look at, you know, purely our performance data. we can come in and do that, and I can see these metrics that are going to be updated. It's all live data. It's the data that's being entered into your system at that moment, right? And actually view and have insight on these certain areas, layer information on top of each other, based on the areas of successors that you own. If you have performance and compensation and succession, you have the opportunity to layer all of those sources of information on top of each other, and actually, come in and draw insights from that kind of deep metric and analysis view. So just another great piece of the solution that you don't need to have this giant analytics engine for. You have all the data. Let's just talk about perspective and kind of the analysis we can draw from it. So that pretty much wraps up our solution demonstration for today when it comes to focusing purely on performance and goals. I know I said a lot in the past 51 minutes, but I just want to, our solution is so robust. It is one of the unbelievable things about SuccessFactors is not just our breadth, our ability to cover really every area of the employee cycle, every region of talent management, but also go deep. As much as you saw today, that was just a piece of the functionality that we have. And that's not to scare anyone either, because you can strip everything down as simple as possible when you're first getting your employees onto a cloud solution and a management tool, and build up from there. Take everything one step at a time and get everyone on board and understanding. And it's so intuitive that as you're ready for different parts of the solution, they'll be there for you to add in. And you don't have to start with performance and goals. You don't have to start with core HR. I invite you to watch really every piece of the different presentations that we're going to have. I'll stop sharing now and actually show you the different series that we have coming up. So you see these upcoming sessions in this Run Live system. They're covering some more areas of our solution. You can see we have some in the past. I think all of those are available on recording if you'd like to request them. But you can start with any area of SuccessFactors and go anywhere from there. Start where you need it the most. So we have these coming up in the next few weeks. Make sure you mark those down and register for them. I actually join all of these sessions. I learn something from my teammates every time I see somebody present our solution. So it's extremely helpful, and a bunch of really smart people coming up to talk to you guys about SuccessFactors. So I hope that was helpful. I know we have a few minutes left here for some questions, 5 to be exact. So I think we're right on time. Jesse, you want to kick us off there?
Absolutely. We've got quite the queue ready and raring to go for you. So, starting us off, can others comment on goals other than your counselor or manager?
Yeah, so that's absolutely possible, but you would have to permission them to do so. So, if you wanted, another individual, maybe let's say an HR executive or somebody else who has, any insight or any participation in this individual's goals, you can invite them to, comment on these goals and have access to the goal plan. But in general, if you want to keep that private and, only allow a select few to come in and comment, you can absolutely do so.
Brilliant. And can you copy goals from one performance plan to another plan, or from last year's plan where the performance period is closed? Can you copy those goals over for the upcoming year?
Yes. So yes to the first part. You can copy goals from one plan to another. You can actually just design templates that from year to year, they're the same goals, for a certain role. That's absolutely possible as well. Or you can change them for the next year. We offer you the ability to do both.
All right. Is continuous performance management typically used standalone or along with parts of performance and goals?
Yeah, so good question. That's really based on your process and your discretion. Some organizations, just want continuous performance management. That's something that they solely want to focus on. They don't want, any sort of ratings anymore. They don't want formal reviews. They have the opinion that, employees shouldn't be represented by a number. And that's a very, dramatic and drastic move, right? So for some people that works great. For other organizations, they want to do maybe a hybrid. formal reviews like we saw, combined with this continuous performance management piece. So capturing feedback, but also, having a more formal assessment. And others just want to stick with doing the regular ratings. That's what works for them. There's all different types of combinations and hybrid relationships that exist. So we offer all functionality up to you, and you can pick and choose what works for you and what you want to work together.
Great. Next question. We have a matrix organization structure. Can multiple managers have input into the various performance forms without having separate work streams for each?
Yes.
Short and sweet. I like it. All right. If I have different performance processes within my company, can the solution support that?
Yes. Yes as well.
Excellent. All right. We're going to jam through and get as many as we can here. Team Rater, is that based on feedback?
So Team Rater, so you go through and actually select the different, the different scores, let's say, for each employee, based on the, whatever competency you're rating them for. It can be based on feedback if you're taking that feedback into account. But at the end of the day, that's your personal input that you're putting in as a manager. I like to see it more as, kind of, as I mentioned, like viewing your team as a whole and making sure that you are being, completely unbiased and straightforward in the way that that you're answering, these queries when it comes to how your employees are doing and how you're rating them on a scale, compared to each other. So it just really provides you a quick look in. It's meant to make things as easy as possible, and yeah, so it can be based on feedback, but no, it's not directly tied to any feedback that you're gathering from others.
All right. What metrics are some of your customers using when evaluating performance management initiatives and tools?
Yeah, so there's a lot, right? For example, some metrics that our customers are using. Maybe, participation rate for performance management. That could have been something that your organization is struggling with, getting individuals to engage and actually go through and do their performance reviews. Perhaps, how quickly the performance appraisal process is taking. Maybe that's a KPI that you want to track and something that you want to prove about your business. The spread of ratings. How individuals are being scored. Ultimately, you want to measure things that are going to have an impact on your business results. So those are things like, employee engagement, productivity, return on investment for employees, right? Employee turnover and retention. So those are just some examples. We provide those metrics for you out of the box if those are things you'd like to assess. But again, you can design your own, absolutely.
Excellent. And the last one, because we are at the top of the hour, what all can be accessed via mobile device?
Everything. So I apologize for the glitch. I wish I could have kind of stepped you through that video, but we did have a lot to see today, so I guess it was okay that I didn't. But everything can be accessed via mobile. It's a fully mobile-enabled solution.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, with that, I want to say thank you for joining us today. A big thanks to our speaker, Kristen Cousins, and to you, our audience. We thank you for your time and your participation.